Good afternoon, family, friends, faculty, and most importantly, the class of 2015. Congratulations. Well, 2 weeks ago, I received a text from my brother after we gave this speech. He said Ellen DeGeneres was their first choice, but she never responded. Just because I'm Ellen doesn't mean y'all are going home empty-handed. Graduates, check out your receipts. What? Tape to the bottom. Nothing? Yeah, because I'm not Ellen DeGeneres. Y'all are going home with diplomas tonight, so. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk tonight. I have a few suggestions that may help you over the next few years. And while these lessons were learned during my time in Austin, I can assure you that it matters not which university you attend, matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles after graduation are similar, and the lessons tend to overcome those struggles and to move forward will apply equally to all. 7 years ago, I was out on this field graduating, and I had no idea what the next 7 years would bring. And here I am, back on the field speaking at graduation. I applied to one university, the University of Texas at Austin. Until orientation, I had never stepped foot on campus, and when I arrived, I was overwhelmed. I was leaving a town of 2,000 of my closest friends and family, and going to a campus that had over 50,000 students. It was crazy, and I was starting over essentially with no friends, and this put me in a sink or swim situation. So I put myself out there, and I ended up making friends that stood the test of time. They're some of my best friends today. So, even if you're going somewhere new without friends, don't be intimidated. Throw yourself out there, introduce yourself, and start your network. You'll never know who you'll meet. When it came to putting my freshman year schedule together, I sat down with an advisor, and she pulled out the engineering curriculum. She looked at my high school transcripts and my SAT scores, and without much hesitation, she looked at my Sol Ross credits, and she said, "Oh, it looks like you took college courses." She's like, "But you kind of took them in West Texas. I think you should take them again here at UT." She said, "The engineering curriculum is tough, and we want you to have a solid foundation." So I listened to her. She's a college advisor. I felt like she knew what she was doing. And that was a pretty hard class. Not because the curriculum was tough, but because it was so easy that I didn't feel challenged. So class of 2015, don't let others set your limits. Just because you're graduating from a small town in West Texas, it doesn't mean you're not smart enough to hang with the city kids. Now, just because I had an easy calculus class doesn't mean my first semester was easy. I was enrolled into Intro to Programming and Intro to Electronics. I went to college as an engineering major because I had a strong math and science background, and I was interested in technology. But I had no idea how to write a computer program or a component to actually went into electronics we keep around in our pockets all day. So when I sat in on those engineering courses, everything went way over my head, and I knew I was in for a long semester. And boy, was I right. I made a 36 on my first college exam. Sorry, Mom, it wasn't a 96. At this point, I had no idea how the curving system worked either, but nonetheless, I was disappointed. And this is where my true grit started to show. I started going into class office hours, pay attention. I started going into class office hours and all the free tutoring sessions on campus. I formed study groups with friends that I met in class, and I was determined to get through the semester. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I felt very out of place my first semester. I felt like I didn't belong. I left Marfa High School where I was graduating top of my class, and I grew up being told that I was a gifted and smart individual. And there I was among tons of gifted and talented individuals around the country. Kids that came from cities and graduated from the tops of their class. And they had more resources than we did, and they were prepped for college. And they had larger vocabulary, they took tons of AP and honor courses, and they were just rock stars. It was a challenge to compete with them. And I was struggling, and I started looking at transferring to smaller schools closer to Marfa over the winter break. And I knew I needed a GPA if I wanted to do this. So I kept studying, making friends, and forming study groups, but I still felt like I didn't belong. Eventually I got up to class, and I was reading the class average toward the end of the semester. I may have started the semester off with a 36, but I finished with the semester with a B. I felt so accomplished and so happy. I had never been this happy for a B before. I impressed myself and thought maybe I'd give it another semester and graduate and transfer over the summer. The lesson learned here was to never give up. And this reminds me of my favorite quote by Patrick Henry. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And it was a really tough semester. It was challenging, and the end result was so rewarding. So class of 2015, never give up. Even if it's hard, because great things take time. Now let's go back to the beginning of the semester. When I arrived at campus, I had my roommate assignment. His name was Razik Ahmed, and he was Muslim. His family came from Bangladesh. And I grew up in this small, uncultured environment, and we don't have diversity here. And the only exposure I had to the Muslim community was 9/11, unfortunately. And I was a little worried, and I was expecting to see a more familiar name, but I wasn't going to let my ignorance get the best of me. I moved in and became friends with Wazik. We were roomed together because we were both electrical engineers, and it was great. Razik knew everything I didn't, which was a lot because he was a nerd. When I was stuck working on homework, Razik never hesitated to help me out. He was patient and made sure that I understood the concepts, not just the answers. Actually, most of my study groups were diverse like this. One night we were studying and the topic of flying came up, and one of my Muslim friends talked about how his family went through airports and the looks they got, and it just made me feel very uncomfortable because that was me a couple months ago. I was uncultured and unaware of the greatest value our country has to offer, and that is the opportunity to experience diversity in culture. If I never stepped outside my comfort zone, I might not have formed these diverse study groups that have got me through the semester. I would not have made the great friendships that I made. I would have missed out on so much. Later that year, I even fasted for a day to celebrate Ramadan. So, I'm glad I was given the opportunity to learn about new cultures. Don't live your life stuck in your comfort zone. You'll never know what's out there. So go out and make new friends. Friends that walked a different life to get to where they are today. Throughout the rest of my college years, I continued to work hard, form study groups, and meet new friends. After a few semesters, I was back on class average, but I had to work to stay there. When the day to graduate came, I was proud to invite my friends and family to celebrate my accomplishment. And during my graduation, I remember looking back at my first semester when I felt like I didn't belong, when I knew I was out of place. And I walked onto that graduation field, and the tower was lit. And the sparks were going, there's fireworks going off, they were playing our school song, and I held my horns in the air, and I was smiling cheek to cheek, and I told myself, you did it. You did belong here, and you are a college graduate. So graduates, I'm telling you now, no matter where you go, you do belong, and if you work hard, you will succeed. Toward the end of my college career, it came time to apply for jobs. And this is where I believe coming from a small town had an advantage. I was fortunate to grow up in this small, close-knit community, and this upbringing shaped my personality. When I went in for interviews, I was always complimented on my mannerisms, my yes ma'ams and no sirs, and the way that I kept my composure around the recruiters. Some of them admitted it was a little distracting at first. I said y'all way too much. But by the end of the interview, they felt like they knew me. They said it was genuine and made me personable. So no matter how much I compared to my colleagues on paper, my personality naturally came out during interviews, and I didn't have to do much but be myself. And that's the best advice I can give tonight. Just be yourself, class of 2015. We have small town charm. Another thing I learned to do in college that helped me for the real world was networking. Like I mentioned earlier, when I first went to college, I had no friends. But all the camps I attended alone growing up and socializing with kids from local towns like Alpine and Fort Davis gave me the skills to make friends in college. And now that I'm in the real world, I use the same strategy to meet other professionals in my field. I just be myself and say hello. And if you haven't heard it enough, it's not always what you know, but who you know. I know most of y'all are excited for the next step and ready for the speech to be over, so y'all can start y'all's celebration. But remember, no matter where you end up, just be yourself, never give up, make friends, and explore the world. Congratulations, class of 2015.